Here are the stories shaping the world this morning, and why they matter. In Colombia, rescue teams are still searching through collapsed buildings after Monday's 7.4 magnitude earthquake, which authorities have described as the strongest to hit the country this century. Officials say at least 265 people have been killed, with thousands injured, and the search is now entering its final phase as the critical 72-hour window narrows. Authorities have put the number of people still missing at nearly 500, while one report cited fears that the number could be far higher, at about 4,000 believed missing. In Cali, one small sign of hope came when a baby was pulled alive from the rubble of a collapsed building. But across the affected areas, families are still waiting for word on loved ones. Hospitals are treating large numbers of injured people, and rescue crews are working against time, unstable structures, and exhaustion. The immediate priorities are finding survivors, getting medical care to the wounded, and securing food, water, and shelter for people whose homes were damaged or destroyed. For ordinary Colombians, the disaster is not only measured in numbers, but in missing relatives, lost livelihoods, and communities suddenly forced to rebuild. President Donald Trump says Secret Service and military officials directed him to fly on a separate plane after a reported threat tied to Iran. According to reporting by the New York Times, credible threats included a person spotted near the NATO summit with a shoulder-fired surface-to-air missile, and intelligence indicating that Iranian officials knew which hotel floor Trump was staying on. Trump said he followed the instructions of the Secret Service and the military and took a different plane. Another report described an alleged Iranian assassination threat that prompted a secret U.S. operation last month. The details underscore the serious security risks surrounding current and former U.S. presidents, especially during international travel and high-profile diplomatic gatherings. The wider concern is not only about one individual's safety, but about how threats of political violence can affect diplomacy, public confidence, and the work of government. Security agencies are expected to treat such intelligence with urgency, while the public interest remains in transparency, accountability, and a clear understanding of how threats are assessed without inflaming fear or speculation. In the Red Sea region, Iran-aligned Houthi fighters attacked a ship in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, killing 6 people and wounding 10 others. The Houthis claimed the vessel was carrying Saudi military equipment, and the attack follows their declaration last month of a naval blockade of Saudi ports. The Bab el-Mandeb is one of the world's most important maritime choke points, linking the Red Sea with the Gulf of Aden and routes toward the Suez Canal. For governments and shipping companies, the attack raises security questions. For crews at sea, it is a direct and immediate danger. Commercial sailors, many of them far from home and working long contracts, are often the people who bear the human cost when regional conflicts spill into shipping lanes. The deaths also add pressure on international efforts to protect navigation while avoiding a wider escalation. The practical stakes include the movement of food, fuel, consumer goods, and humanitarian supplies through routes that many countries depend on. Any sustained disruption can drive up costs and delays for families and businesses far beyond the region. A separate maritime proposal is taking shape around the Strait of Hormuz, another key passage for global energy and trade. The emerging deal would send ships entering the strait along a northern route through Iranian waters, while ships exiting would use a southern route through Omani waters. The arrangement is being described as part of broader efforts to support a ceasefire and move toward negotiations. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow but vital waterway, and any reduction in confusion or confrontation there could lower the risk for crews, cargo operators, and the countries that depend on steady energy shipments. The proposed routing system appears aimed at creating clearer separation between vessels moving in opposite directions, while also giving regional governments a framework that could support de-escalation. Details still matter, including enforcement, monitoring, and whether all key parties accept the arrangement. But the basic goal is constructive: reduce the chance that a tense maritime environment turns into a broader crisis. For working people, that can mean more reliable shipping, fewer price shocks, and less risk for the people whose jobs put them on the water. In the occupied West Bank, Israeli settlers are blocking Palestinian homes in the village of Qusra, stopping people and essential supplies from moving in and out. Food, medicine, and electricity are reported to be running low, while settlers have been described as throwing rocks and blocking movement around the village. The Israeli army says it will send more troops to impose order, but the presence of soldiers at the blockade site has also drawn concern. Soldiers already sent to the area have been accused of complicity after being seen praying alongside settlers. For Palestinian families in Qusra, the immediate issue is basic survival. Whether they can reach medical care, bring in food, keep power running, and move safely. For Israeli authorities, the test is whether security forces will protect civilians and enforce the law without favor. Settler violence and restrictions on Palestinian movement have been a growing point of concern for human rights groups, foreign governments, and local communities. The situation in Kusra is a reminder that the daily realities of conflict often involve roadblocks, fear, and the slow erosion of normal life for families who may never appear in diplomatic statements. In Ukraine, a strike hit a passenger train in the northeastern city of Kharkiv, killing the train driver and assistant when the locomotive was struck directly. The report said both died instantly. Ukrainian railway infrastructure is described as being attacked daily, including stations, transport trucks, and platforms. The deaths of rail workers underline the civilian labor that keeps a country functioning during war. Train crews, dispatchers, repair teams, station staff, and freight workers help move people, medicine, food, and supplies, often under threat. In cities such as Kharkiv, which has faced repeated attacks because of its location near the Russian border, rail service can be a lifeline for evacuation, medical transport, and the daily movement of residents who still need to get to work or reach relatives. Strikes on trains and stations do more than damage infrastructure. They disrupt families, isolate communities, and place ordinary workers in direct danger. Ukraine's rail system has become a symbol of public service under pressure, and each attack adds to the burden on crews trying to repair lines and keep passengers moving. In Zambia, President Hakainde Hichilema is seeking a second 5-year term, with the election widely seen as a test of his government's economic record. Hichilema was elected in 2021, 1 year after Zambia defaulted on its sovereign debt. His United Party for National Development government has since steered the country through debt restructuring and recovery efforts. But for voters, the central issue remains the cost of living. Debt agreements and growth targets matter, but households tend to judge economic progress by food prices, wages, rent, fuel, school costs, and whether jobs are available. The government has also set a 2031 target to triple copper production, a major ambition for a country where copper is central to the economy and increasingly important to the global green energy transition. Copper is used in electric vehicles, power grids, and renewable energy systems, giving Zambia a potentially stronger role in a changing world economy. The question for many Zambians is whether that opportunity will translate into better public services, decent work, and more stable living conditions, rather than benefits that remain concentrated among companies and political elites. Spain has introduced a temporary and renewable legal status path for undocumented migrants who meet residency and criminal record requirements. The measure, created through an April royal decree, could allow an estimated 600,000 people to come out of the shadows and work with legal protections. Applicants must have lived in Spain for the last 5 months and have no criminal record. For migrants already contributing to the economy, the change could be significant. One migrant described working irregularly with lower pay and fewer legal protections, a common problem when people lack formal status. Without documents, workers are often more vulnerable to wage theft, unsafe conditions, and exploitation, because reporting abuse can feel risky. Legal status can make it easier to sign a contract, rent a home, access services, pay taxes openly, and build a more secure life. The policy also reflects a practical reality facing many European countries: aging populations, labor shortages, and economies that already rely on migrant workers in care, agriculture, hospitality, construction, and domestic work. Spain's approach is likely to be closely watched because it frames regularization not only as a migration issue, but as a labor rights and social stability measure. In the United States, the Department of Homeland Security says immigration and customs enforcement agents and officers could begin carrying gloves capable of delivering painful electric shocks by March. The devices are made by Compliant Technologies LLC in Lexington, Kentucky, and have been used by some municipal police departments and jails. Civil liberties advocates are raising concerns about the risk of abuse, especially in immigration enforcement, where people may be detained during workplace raids, street operations, or while seeking to regularize their status. The concern is sharpened by findings from the American Civil Liberties Union in a federal case involving body camera material, depositions, and text messages. The ACLU said federal immigration agents deployed to Los Angeles last summer used racist slurs against Latinos and racially profiled people during operations. For immigrant families, even the possibility of more forceful enforcement tools can deepen fear around daily life. Going to work, taking children to school, or showing up for appointments. For officers, clear rules and accountability are also essential. The broader question is whether immigration enforcement is being carried out in a way that respects constitutional rights, human dignity, and public trust. In the U.S. judiciary, judges and legal observers are warning about intimidation aimed not only at judges, but at their families. One recent episode involved a pizza delivery placed under the name of Daniel Anderl, the murdered son of U.S. District Judge Esther Salas. Daniel Anderl was killed in 2020 by an attacker who had targeted Judge Salas at her home. Judge Salas has described feeling sadness and anger over the new incident, which many see as a disturbing form of threat by reference. Justice Sonia Sotomayor was also referenced in connection with similar threatening rhetoric or targeting. The concern is that public anger at court decisions, political rhetoric, and online harassment can move into personal intimidation. Judges are public officials, and their rulings can be debated, criticized, and appealed. But threats against judges or their families are an attack on the rule of law itself. They can chill independent decision-making and create real danger for spouses, children, and staff members who have no role in court rulings. The constructive response is stronger security, clearer consequences for threats, and political leadership that draws a firm line between criticism and intimidation. Taiwan is expressing alarm over joint Chinese and Indonesian naval exercises off its east coast, calling them a provocation. Indonesia's Navy said the drills were not related to warfighting. Taiwan was also in the midst of its own annual exercises. The location matters because Taiwan's east coast is often viewed as strategically important, including for resupply and defense planning in the event of a crisis. Beijing claims Taiwan as part of China, while Taiwan has its own democratic government, military, and institutions. Naval activity around the island is therefore watched closely for signs of pressure or signaling. Indonesia's role adds another layer, because Jakarta has traditionally tried to balance relations with major powers while protecting its own regional interests. For people in Taiwan, the practical concern is not abstract geopolitics. It is whether military activity increases anxiety, disrupts shipping or flights, or raises the risk of miscalculation. The calmer path remains communication, restraint, and clear rules of conduct at sea. Military exercises can be routine, but in tense waters, even routine moves can carry political meaning. A recent study cited in this morning's reports estimates that 16,000 people died during 1 month of Europe's summer heat wave. The discussion emphasized that extreme heat can be especially dangerous because it is less visible and less immediately recognizable than storms, floods, or hurricanes. Heat does not tear off roofs or flood streets in the same way, but it can overwhelm the body, especially for older adults, outdoor workers, people with chronic illness, young children, and those living in poorly cooled homes. The number also points to inequality. People with air conditioning, flexible work, good housing, and access to healthcare are better protected. People working in agriculture, delivery, construction, kitchens, and warehouses often face higher exposure and fewer choices. Cities can be especially dangerous because pavement and buildings trap heat overnight. The study's estimate is a warning, but it also points toward solutions. Heat alerts, cooling centers, worker protections, tree cover, shaded public spaces, and checking on isolated neighbors can save lives. As Europe adapts to hotter summers, the challenge is to treat heat as a public health emergency before the death toll rises. Follow for a daily world brief. Sources are linked in the description. That's the world as